Styles and Smiles again. I'm here to start our series on color. And so obviously I don't want to give away all of our secrets. It's kind of what we're being paid for, is to have this knowledge. But I do want to pass some things along so you guys have a little bit more understanding of what to expect, and so maybe you don't make some mistakes at home. The first thing is, so we don't actually use the word dye in a salon. We don't dye your hair. So I know you think of dye, that's what we refer to as just the color. But when we say hair color in two words, hair color is the dye that we're talking about. So what type of hair color we're putting on your hair. When we say hair color, one word, then that refers to the color that's actually on your hair. So one word hair color is your hair color, whether it's natural or artificial. Two words is the hair color. So when I say color by itself, I'm generally referring to the dye. So just so you know what I'm talking about. But so I wanted to start this series kind of like how I did with the shampoo, and first explaining how it works and the different types. So I think that's what we'll address today. And then if you guys have any questions about what I talk about today or any other color questions, then definitely submit those. Either comment here or go on our Facebook page and comment there or whatever too. So let me know what other questions you have. So first I wanted to explain the different types of hair color dye. The hair color. So there's the different types. There's temporary, semi-permanent, demi-permanent, and then permanent. And so the different types, it depends on how far it's going into your hair. So remember how I talked about, like, your hair has that 3 different layers. There's the cortex in the center, then there's the middle, and then there's the cuticle on the outside. So like a temporary color is just going to be staining on the outside. And temporary colors can be anything from like the spray, hairspray kind of things that will wash out in one wash, or ones that wash out, and usually it's like 10 washes or less that they wash out or fade out a lot. Sometimes they might last a little bit more, but they're faded a lot. So a lot of those extreme fun colors that we do, those ones are all temporary ones. They're not going to last, they're not permanent. So when we do things like, you know, a blue streak in your hair or purple or pink or whatever, those are definitely temporary ones. They just stain the outer part of your hair, and sometimes they stain and last a little bit longer, but they're faded, but they are just staining the outside. They're not actually dyeing or coloring like your hair from the inside. Semi-permanent goes in a little bit deeper. Those ones tend to last maybe 3 to 6 months, and those ones are good if you want to change. But like with a semi-permanent, it's not one that's going to lift your color. So if you want just to have a little bit different tone, just add a little warmth or something, a semi-permanent can be a good one for that, just to kind of see, like, I kind of think I want a little bit of a red tint to my hair, or a golden tint or caramel tint, but I'm not quite sure you want to go permanent with it. A semi-permanent is one that's good for that, where you can kind of just change the tone of your hair a little bit, maybe go a little bit darker or something, but that'll wash out and fade out, so you won't get so much of a grow outline. So if you don't want it to be totally permanent, semi-permanent is good for that. And a demi-permanent is it's a step up from a semi, so it's one that lasts a little bit longer, but it's also one that's not permanent, so it's not one that's going to be really lifting your hair. It's another one that will be good for depositing. So if you want to go a little bit darker, it will deposit a little bit more, go a little bit deeper, so it won't fade too fast. But that one also is, since it's not permanent, it's not going to be one for lifting if you want to go lighter for your hair. So if you want to do a permanent actually goes all the way in and changes from the very center of your hair, from that core. So with permanent ones, that's ones that you can do a lift, you can do a deposit, anything like that. Deposit is what we refer to when it's adding color to your hair, if that makes sense. So with permanent colors, those are the ones that you have to leave on your hair for like 30 to 45 minutes. And when the reason they sit for so long is the first half, like 15 to 20 minutes, they're lifting color out to remove old color. I mean, your natural color. They don't pull out old, like, fake color, artificial color. So that's one thing to note if you have dyed your hair, colored your hair. and you want to color it a lighter color, a color won't lift color. So that's an important thing to note. So make sure when you are going to get your hair colored, if they don't ask, make sure you do say, like, this is actually color I put on my hair. Even if it is like your natural-ish color, sometimes it's hard to tell, but say, yeah, I did color my hair previously. From here down, this is old color, whatever, because removing old color is different than just lifting your natural. So if you have virgin hair, is what we refer to as it's never been colored at all, then that's perfect. You know, just say it's all virgin hair, it's never been touched, then we can lift. So with a color, it takes that first 15 to 20 minutes will be lifting, removing your natural color, and then that last 15 to 20 minutes is when it's depositing color. So if you wash it out when it's in the middle of the process, sometimes it looks weird in the middle of that process and you're like, oh no, and then you want to go wash it out. If you wash it out before it's done processing, when it's a color, then you're going to be left with a weird color because it's not complete. So those ones have to have the full 30 to 45 minutes depending on what color you're using. They need to have that full time to process so they can complete the deposit. But the nice thing about with color is if you leave it on for more than 45 minutes, say you leave it on for like 2 hours because you're watching a movie, it's not going to be any different. It's not going to keep depositing. Color is made to get to the point where it's going to get and then it stops. So if you leave it on longer, back in the day, a long time ago, color used to be like that, where you had to wash it out when it got to the right one, because otherwise if you left on too long, your hair would end up black because it would just keep depositing. Now they've got, you know, stuff that it stops where it needs to stop. So you can leave it on for your whole movie if you're coloring it at home. So that's with permanent. It needs that time because it is lifting then depositing. Other ones are just deposit only, and then it depends. Okay, so demi-permanent, I don't think I talked about the time. So semi-permanent usually is like a maybe 3 to 6 months, if that. Demi-permanent is more like a 6 months and on. So it's one that's a lot of colorists like to use demi-permanent because it does eventually fade out, but it fades out slowly enough that you don't get a grow out line and then you don't get a weird fade either. So demi-permanent is one that's really nice for that if you don't want to do a full permanent deposit. Important thing to note though is not to use box color. Can I give my little rant about box color? So when we color your hair, we did, like, you know, at school we do a full class just on color, multiple classes on coloring, depending on what kind of color, you know, we do a lot of classes on it. And we learn the science behind it. We learn how to mix what, depending on what's on your hair. So when you go get a box color, you know how on the side of the box it says, if your hair's this color, it will end up this. If your hair's this color, it will end up this. It kind of is, but it's not one that... The box doesn't know what kind of undertones you have on your hair. It doesn't know what colors you've used on it previously. It doesn't know if your hair pulls red or if it pulls yellow. And you have no idea what kind of developer. So you mix the color and the developer together to activate it. Who knows what kind of developer it's using? So if you're using box color, like, oh, I've used box color a ton and I've never had problems. Box color can be okay if you're staying within like 1 to 2 shades of your natural color. But again, you don't know what chemicals are even in there. They don't even list it. So when you go to get your hair professionally colored, we have no idea. So it's scary in that way because you can have some conflicting chemicals. So you want to be really careful with box color. If you do want to color your hair at home, and I am not one to say, no, don't color your hair at home. You can if you want, but just make sure you're using good stuff. So go to a beauty supply place. Go to Ulta or Sally Beauty Supply. Sally has good stuff, but, you know, go in there and say, hey, I want to do this to my hair. The people that work there will be able to pick out the color and the developer that you need. So make sure you're at least asking a professional for their advice, and it's not going to be any more than getting a box color. It'll last you more because you don't use the whole thing all at one time either. So make sure if you do want to color it at home, then you ask somebody for help. And if you're going to do something dramatic, don't do it at home. Come to see a professional so we can make sure, you know, if you want to do a lift, if you want to do a deposit, if you're doing something extreme different than what you have on your hair, we need to know how to fill, you know, if you have blonde hair and you want to go dark, we got to add some base fillers to it. You can't just put on a dark brown because it won't turn out if you don't have those bases. If you want to go really light and you don't really know what you're doing, you're going to turn out really orangey, really yellow. We get a lot of those coming in and we have to end up fixing it, and it's going to just cost you that much more. So if you want to do something extreme, just go see a professional. But if you want to do something just not too much different and just do different tones, go to a beauty supply where they sell to the public, and you can have them help you pick out what you need. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to talk about this week. Let me know what questions you have for next week. We can start talking about some of your specific questions. So let me know what you want to know about color, what questions that you have, so when you come in or when you do it yourself, then you know a little bit more, understand it a little bit more. Anyway, so that's my advice for today, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much from Styles and Smiles.